Did you say?
7:03 in your life.
Since I am a voting member on behalf of one. All right, so 7:05, let's start the meeting. And so we will take attendance here. So Commissioner Baskin is here, and Bishop is here, and Commissioner Pollock is here, and I am here. So that's all I have. All right. Yeah. Oops.
You might want to do the bishop had to have you in, it's very nice.
All right, so I sent out the minutes from last week, or last month. Hopefully you all got a chance to see them and look them over.
Thank you.
Just waiting on getting something up here. So is there any comments, corrections, anything?
Well, it's Kathy policy and who's talking about.
Oh,
Public P, LUCH, it's just.
we're good. Oh, yeah, I see it. I don't do it other places, okay.
I'm just so used to it, I don't even.
I get the same thing. There's so many deletions of H's and T's and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Same way with Kathy, and people spell it 4 or 5 different ways, and I just, whatever.
Okay.
Except for that minor thing,
Okay.
I need some proof.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I'll take Kim as a second there. And all in favor? Aye. All right, so 4 ayes. Okay, excellent. All right, so we're going to go just a little bit of order back because I just don't want to forget. I had a little bit of correspondence. It's a very short thing, and I want to take some time to do this, and sure, I know I will forget. The end of June, Greg Mattice, the city administrator, I got an email from a resident, Glenn Wright, and about looking to think about the city moving to disallow construction of new gas stations, kind of like some places are doing in California. There's a few places like that, a few communities are doing that. I got the forwarded emails, but I have not heard anything else, but I just thought that I would pass that along. I'm not sure there's anything we can do because I don't know where we would put it in a gas station.
Has anybody asked to do that?
I don't think so. I think it's something that's kind of becoming a thing in some communities as a way to be able to sort of stop investing in fossil fuel infrastructure and things like that, right? So it's not like shutting down the ones that are there, because like if somebody wants to build a new one,
Right.
we got enough capacity, we don't really need to do that. I don't, like I said, I don't see that, and I didn't get a formal thing, but I did, it was sort of corresponded, so I figured I would share that.
Well, I guess if somebody wants to do it, we'll hear about it and we can do it.
Yeah, it's, you know,
That new car wash isn't gonna have one, is it?
well, it's also in the town.
Oh, true, that's true.
It's hard to like keep a track of like where everything is, and you know, I would have thought that you would not have been necessarily worrying about say like going out to rail yards because it looks like it would be in the town, but just sneaks in just a little bit into the city, so it's helpful to know where all those things go.
It's just hard to remember.
But should that come up more quickly, we can certainly take a closer look at this. And so, Dave,
my thing down so I can talk a little bit. I'm trying to get out of your hair, environmental board. It'll take a while, okay, all right. And one thing that I would want to mention is that Greg and I have been trying to figure out for the first time in the history of planting trees, to get the city more involved in watering the trees. And I think the solution, it hasn't been completely solved, the city does have 40 water bags. And the issue with water bags is you fill them, but they drain the water within, I think, about 12 hours. But that's okay, because it goes in slowly and hopefully goes around where it should be. Ideally, if we could get the city to fill the water bags twice a month, weather depending, if we get a lot of rain, then obviously you don't need it. But Fred was saying, even now with the water, we put it around the field, when the water bags go along the tree, unfortunately, when it rains, it sort of shunts the water off, because these big plastic things that are probably empty, because they only hold water for 12 hours or anything. We're trying to get 40, we have 40, city purchased 40, and we're trying to get the water bags on trees that have been planted for maybe no more than 12 or possibly 24 months. We kind of think, and we're not based on any statistics or data, but we think after 2 years, the tree should probably...
They're still green, they're probably doing all right.
Yeah, but if they start to lose, then it's probably too late. Anyhow, so we've been working, the other option, which Fred, I made, was a 35-gallon water jug and pour water and go back and fill them up somewhere, you know. So it's really crazy. So we hope the city's going to do. They have a huge yellow water truck. It's run by the city sewer and sanitation to clean out sewers and stuff, but they do have a hole in the front of it, and the nozzle fits perfectly into the bags.
Okay.
And so it's a matter of getting the city to allow these guys to work. It's going to take them if you do 40 trees, it's going to take half a day or more.
That was my summer job for 2 years.
Okay.
Watering trees.
With a truck?
Yeah, I had a 1,000-gallon water tank.
Oh, wow.
At Colorado Dam, and I just went from...
Well, okay, you should know more. I mean, talk to the city, man. So that's what we're trying to get the city to do. That's number one. Number two, I've given you a map of the city, which is a pretty good map. I've snooped around, and the bulk of that, the whole point of this is to encourage the environmental board and other people that are interested to recommend tree sites.
Yeah.
And I thought I would love to get, before I get totally out of the picture, I would love to get a site of potential planting sites. And I would be very happy to go around the city with any one of you. It's probably easier one at a time, but, you know, maybe a couple of people, I don't know, and look at sites, your favorite sites, and I can, you know, tell you what I think of them based in terms of what we've done for the last 15 years. But the main thing, what I like to do, if you have a site you'd like, we could look at the power lines overhead, and also look at the median, the width of the median, and say, yes, or alternatively, I know Kevin's not allowed to do this, David's not allowed, but the alternative is to do private planting on private property. And I'll be very honest with you, I haven't yet gotten the figures back, I'm trying to get the figures of how many trees we plant privately versus public trees. And the negative with private, if you've got the other form there I gave you, that's the agreement, the property owner is totally responsible after 2 years, and they can do whatever they want with the tree. And that sounds a little bit foreboding, but quite frankly, I think I can think of one person that's destroyed the tree intentionally, got rid of it, cut it down after it was planted in their private property. If we restrict ourselves to only planting in the median, this is what the college kids, they don't walk home from the bars at night single file. They usually come out and mop to anywhere from 5 to 10, and I think this is when the damage happens. I don't think they necessarily want to destroy the trees. I think they just get a little happy and somebody bumps into a tree and they break the branch off. Damn tree, and they break the branch off, you know.
I know there was, like 4 or 5 years ago.
At Harvard College, I know that is.
Yeah, there was a couple of,
The best basketball player Harvard's ever had.
well, we don't even know that. I mean, that was the last time that I remember hearing about all that damage. Is it something that really happens, do we know? Well, like every year do we see this damage, or is it just like...
It never hits the paper, but I mean, we sometimes on the busy student place, we lose a tree or two every block. I mean, you know, we lost a lot of trees. With kids breaking them off, bumping into them. Yeah, and these are, I don't look at them as malicious. I look at, been around colleges for what, 32 years, and teaching at Harvard. And, you know, the kids are nice and they don't mean this maliciously. The ones that you're referring to, these guys are bending a tree over, trying to sort it out.
You know, I'm just curious, over the last month, I've rethought a few things about the private property. I guess, and of course, it's the board and everybody else's decision, not mine.
And the mayor asked us to put a tree in his front yard, which unfortunately died. And other people in the environmental board, we put a tree in their front.
I know.
And they're all property, we're all private trees on private property. We put,
Yeah, no, I think what I'm just trying to think of is making sure that there's, I think this is what Dave is thinking about. I think this is also what Gino was thinking about some others, is, and what we're working on, I think this map, and things like, think about if this will go along with, is just trying to make sure that it's sort of as equitable as that there's like a plan in play. You know, personally, I would think that I would like to see, you know, kind of first go around, find places on city property to go through there, and then as a second go around, maybe come up with something like that. Dave and I, Ainsworth and I were emailing back and forth a little bit, and one idea that we came up with was to, I think it came up here too, I don't remember, using like Facebook to put up a web form of some kind. We can put the web form somewhere else maybe, but then like on Facebook to say, hey, once a month, it's, you know, anybody got a place that they want to see a tree, you know, when they get on the list, and things like that, and then we can go and look and see if these places are good. And then, the one thing that sort of changed my mind is I was walking home on Maple Street, and I knew exactly what we were talking about with some of that bare spot there. And the problem is that some of the right of way, like, I mean, it's a foot, you know.
the meeting, technically called the meeting, between the sidewalk and the curb.
Yeah.
I don't even know who owns it. But it's,
we did this.
no, the meeting is,
Yeah, that's that, and that's the city.
So the median is owned by the city, so anything on the other side of the sidewalk is obviously private property, but not the median?
And I think legally, you may be paying taxes on the median whether you want to or not. Well, I think it's legally, I think they have a maintenance right, sewer, water, and probably trees if you want to.
They have a maintenance director like 20 feet into the property.
So it's a legal thing, but I mean,
So you own it, but they have, and so if you plant anything on there, it's considered a gift. So if you try to take something down off that little median, that's considered, anything that's on that median is considered a city.
Interesting.
Because some streets don't have medians too. I mean, I live at Myrtle Yeah, I know, sorry. I live at Myrtle Ave, which needs trees desperately, but there's no median on Myrtle. So there's some streets that.
It's on my side of Pine Street,
Right.
it's right up to that.
no, there are streets where we can't put trees.
Right.
And you go east end, the next one is the side of East End Street, the eastern end of the city. I forgot the name of it now. And the one where the auction barn is, all of those streets are very narrow medians, and some of the houses are so close to the street, you can't even dream of having the property owner accept the tree there, it's just too short. Right. The tree. So there's some, we did send letters out, now over the years, you have to get the address. To my knowledge, the city has no list of mailing addresses for owners, and we therefore were required to go to the town tax board, which is open for anybody to see, and we would get the addresses, which may be several years old, and may not always be the current owner, and we sent them an address, mail, and a copy of the form, and said we'd love to put a tree in your property. We got almost no response. That doesn't mean you shouldn't do it again, but it was discouraging, because places that you would see, oh, it's a good place for a tree. No response on that request.
Yeah.
So, but,
Well, that's, I think, if we try to open this up, and especially if we're, trying to.
certainly, I mean, I don't think, even David, we think we should do none on private property, right?
No, yeah, we just felt that we just didn't want that to be our, I think we were thinking that that was not like the go-to.
I'd love to go out with you sometime, in 2 hours, and we can do a quick tour of what, streets that we think might be good or bad or whatever. You and I haven't communicated that level, and David and I haven't either. But I've been on the streets for quite a while, looking at sites. And Fred has some ideas, and John has some ideas, and, a lot of people have ideas.
I think one thing that we should also is to maybe, not just a form to have people do that, but we should have a list of potential sites that we,
That's exactly what I'd like to do.
that we should just set up.
That's precisely what I do with the master, initiate.
And I was thinking, just something amongst people that are working in this, that maybe like a Google sheet or something, right, where you can just say, one, it'd be nice to have as a way to say, here are some proposed places that we can actually mark down, also that we might actually plant it, and when, and maybe a way of keeping track, a little bit more about where we're planting things. So I think those are the ideas on that.
So how did we come up with this list of potential sites?
Well, so the way that, and Hutch and Fred, for this, a lot of it is like when Hutch and Fred and so tree guy.
Fred?
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred is on contract, he's really, his background is forestry, and that's what he's done for many years, but he also is, did a degree, not a degree, but half of it has to be in urban forestry. He did the program on his own, paid for it out of his own pocket. When the city is hiring on a contractual basis to trim the trees, he's getting an age now, he's beginning to be 70, and he does not want to climb high and trim anymore. He'll climb maybe up to a ladder's height and trim, which he has done. Sometimes you see a big pile of trimmings out of nowhere, or it means Fred's been there. And the city is getting, the trees are getting ahead of him, I think, in some areas. It's going, the trees we put in over the last 15 years have gotten to be a nuisance in some places, and he just can't keep up with it, So that's something the e-board might want to.
Right, so what's happened is people like that have gone around and located where to put them. And I'm thinking that it'd be better to systematize it a little bit, make it a
Right, so Hutch already knows a bunch of places. You mentioned the fellow named Fred, who must know a bunch of places.
right, he's the,
Simply going around to people who work for the city, know places probably.
yeah.
So we should be able to get a starting list.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is like I can put together a spreadsheet that can then get, and if you just wanted to email me the addresses.
We want to know with a site and then like the recommend, like the best fit species for that site.
Yeah.
And like what would go there.
Right.
Because I mean, they're more appropriate in some places than others, I would assume.
Right.
With why you do overhead, you have to do, and you're somewhat limited to what you can put in, obviously. You can't put an oak tree. It's happened, frankly, I will admit, it has happened. We have put oak trees under the wires in a few places. We didn't need it happen, but that happened.
And so for these different sites, it's easier for the city to plant a tree when the city owns the property.
Right, that's what the meeting is sort of useful, because you just go there
And it's a whole other level of negotiations to plant a tree on private property.
yes, especially because,
So the low-hanging fruit, so to speak, really is the city property.
right. Yeah, I think the thing that's been a little bit new is that we were trying to think about putting the trees on park property as well. The park is sort of overall thing.
Yeah.
There's a hard, I know, we never put anything in the park. The parks people kind of did that. There's no reason, I guess. We just kind of thought our job was to do streets.
Yeah.
That was enough. And the park people did the parks. Now with the elm trees, the woman down there, Louise, said that she would love to, and Dave was mentioning along the curb, it could come over the railroad track and bend the curb around the baseball diamond and the field. the Mashpee Field. They requested it, she thought it'd be fine to put a couple of trees in there. We didn't know what they were going to put playing fields in it, but she said that was fine. A couple of trees have died in the park, and she said she'd love to put an elm tree for each of the dead trees in there.
Yeah.
So the first time ever we've been working with them.
And I think that's one of the things too, is that just like, especially like an elm, right? And those are big, beautiful trees and, and I finding, and wanting to find a place for them and it'd be really, and we're having, those sycamores have, I don't know, 50, 60 years maybe left in it.
We've never planted a sycamore.
Well, no, those beautiful sycamores that are in our park.
Oh, yes.
Are tiny out pretty. I mean, we want to get things in there growing so that when it's time for the sycamores to come down, they might not be as magnificent as them, but, won't be a little tiny.
Both of them are out of the dog park, aren't they? Or behind the dog park.
No, there's actually a big field between the large pavilion and the playground. There was a few sycamores there. I think one came down just recently, a few years
But
ago.
I thought step one would be to get you guys to go out and look at sites, and I'm happy to do it this summer when people have a little
I think
more.
what Paul's saying is that there are people who should already know a bunch of those sites. I think what Paul is saying is that there are people who should already have some of those sites in mind, like you and.
Yeah. And I think if you go down certain streets, it's very limited. I mean, you could always scratch out certain streets, Myrtle, for example. Forget it, you can't. And Kevin, where you live, I forgot, you're on time. There's no.
Ironically, there are very few.
Yeah, so I mean, there's certain places, the same, like you go east end of town. One of the places where we haven't done a very good job is more the west end, out to the city limits. There are places there, I can't remember the two streets, there's one at the city limits and one inside the city, one more block, that one's kind of barren. But again, they may be more on private than they're gonna be on the median. Some of them will
I
be
have a
median.
question. If you decide to plant something in a median, do you check with the owner?
No, you don't have to.
No,
Yeah,
It's not your lawn.
right, but if it's something that's gonna be in front of you and you're gonna end up having to deal with it, don't you get a say about whether it goes?
well, you will have to wait, but if we did that, it would make life very, very difficult. The city wants to have a tree canopy.
I get it.
And the city has the right to put trees in the median. They don't have the
I just know
right.
that I have a neighbor who had two trees in his median. They both died,
Yeah.
came down, and I said, don't you want them again? He says, no.
Yeah, okay.
So in that kind of a situation, that's not gonna make some people very happy if you're gonna.
It might.
I mean, if I wake up one morning and there's a tree in my median that I didn't ask for, you see what I'm saying?
We've had very few people complain when we put a tree in their yard. One person didn't want one, a former mayor of the city of Oneonta, didn't want, long time ago, didn't want one, and so we didn't put one in his yard. And we talked to people going up on Hudson Street many years ago. Nobody wanted one at Hudson Street. It's bad.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
shouldn't we ask them before we put it in?
It's usually been this, I mean, in a lot of areas, that's just, it's the city, like, maintains it, puts them up, takes care of them, like in my parents' house in the suburbs of Chicago.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with that, but I guess.
No, I hear what you're saying.
I mean, it would not make
Yeah,
me, I would love a tree, but I would not be happy if it just happened and I didn't know about it. If I hadn't been.
Well,
involved.
I hear you, but the way it's been going for 30 years, and I think anybody in the upper levels of the city would agree. I mean, you go knock on the door, well, I don't think so. I mean, the city wants to have a tree canopy,
Yeah.
and you're not going to get it if you, they have to wait, and you're going to complain.
And mow around it and, yeah.
Well, yeah, but it's, if they do, a lot of them don't bother, they just let the grass grow around them, which is kind of ugly looking, but, No, I hear you, I don't know, you guys make your decisions there.
I'm just surprised to hear that. I just assumed that people would be asked, but
So we're going to coming
let's move on.
this fall, right?
Yes.
Like 20 trees that are...
We have 20 elms, they're going to be fairly small, maybe 6, 8 feet high, and we bought them 3 years ago. I didn't really realize that the former city manager bought them, and then he left, but they paid for them.
They don't have designated sites, we know where those.
No.
They were bought by the previous city manager.
So we don't know.
That's what we don't, a bunch of them are, like, somebody else, that's what we're trying to find out.
So, okay, so
This happens all the time. This happens all the time. When we, over the years, and that doesn't mean it's the right way to do it, we would order 20 trees, and then we'd have to scramble around and figure out the best place to put them, you know? We don't, the obvious logical thing would be look at the site and then order the tree. Well, that would be the logical site. I totally agree with you.
And I think that's where, I think Dave has been wanting to move towards this as well, is that if we can maintain a list, and I'll just create a spreadsheet now that we can share, it has an address, is it, do you recommend putting in the median or not? Is it, what kind of recommended tree do you have? Are you planning on?
I think Dave Matisse already has this list.
Well, then I'll share it, but,
Well, I have a list of all the,
Sorry, Matisse.
Yeah.
I think Greg Matisse already has this list. I think Greg Matisse already has
I'll
a
check
list
with him.
of.
over the years, we tried to keep track of trees we planted, then 2 years later, a tree died, we put another tree in. So, you know, we don't keep track of all, but I have given, I think I gave you a year or two ago, Greg, a list of everything that I had that we planted. I mean, they're in yearly batches, there's not one complete list. It's what we did this year, what we did this year, what we did this year, so, and what we did for the last 3 years maybe. We weren't horribly systematic about it.
Right, and I think that's,
But you don't, and we also, Cornell came and did a survey and marked all the trees. But the kicker is, you sit inside and you look at the report and you look at a map and you say, oh, that looks good. You get out in the field and look at it, oh, that's a horrible site. I mean, to me, in a car, looking with your 2 eyes, that's the answer. Whatever list you got is almost meaningless. It does help to get an inventory of the trees, and they have a certain amount of monetary value to them. I don't know how that fits into the overall thing,
but what I'm suggesting is not what trees we already have. I'm not, frankly, what's happened in the past, I don't care.
Right, yeah.
They're there, right? And hopefully, maybe Greg has a list of potential sites. What I'm just saying is that we ought to maintain a list of potential sites. And that's what I'm saying. I got, right here, I just quickly drew one up. It's got an address, if you want to put it in the median or not, what kind of recommended tree, if any, you have that, who recommended putting it there, and then when was it planted, and how
our land overhead.
Right,
So any time a tree in the city is planted, whether it's a city or the board, you have to go through, and the city required we order through them, you have to go through Big New York. And they come out and mark the electric, the gas, the water, the sewer, all those little colors have a meaning to them when you see square marks. And when you put a tree in, you've got to, they require you to put a stake in where we want to put a tree, and then they'll put the markings in, you can say, oh my God, we're too close to this, to that, and we'll move the stake, if we can. So that we do very, very carefully. And, right, you don't want to mess around gas lines especially.
No, but that's just part and parcel of that. But what I'm saying, but if we do this, then we can, that'll also help us if we can maintain a robust list, then when it comes time to.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm asking, yeah.
Order the trees, it won't be like, oh, let's what we have in budget for 20, let's order 20, and we'll figure out where to put it, right? I mean, this right here, it's like, all right, we got a list, we have 6 places that right now that we know that don't have anything, so let's just order 6 for right now. It might not be as much, maybe we can work more in the future with the parks or schools or something like that, get them in there. But at least this way here, it will be a little bit, it'll just be better for planning. And then we don't have to worry about this, and we can, solicit, not just us going around looking for it or Dave or whatever, but, once a month solicit a response, like, do you have a location for a tree, please.
So, I think we're going to do a list,
Yeah.
right? And we're going to start with seeing what list might already be out there?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So that is pretty much where we are.
And then we can add to it.
We can add,
Yes.
yeah, it's smart.
Good. That's good.
The only negative is that oftentimes the nursery doesn't have the tree you want. That's the kicker there, but no,
But starting with knowing where we might want to plant them is where we have to start.
Knowing where to plant them is really where you want to start, and again, we can put down a couple of recommended trees, so like, these kind of trees will go well here, these kind of trees go well here, and then you just put them in. There you go.
And yeah, we need to know if, I completely agree.
And then trying to get it so that we become more recommenders and having the city
Now we have these 20 trees coming in October, whatever it is,
Yeah,
and we need 20 sites before too long.
I forget, I think we
That's
got,
the priority right now.
that's what Dave's been working on quite a bit. He's been trying to set up,
He's not here tonight, so maybe we shouldn't even go too far without Dave's presence. He's the most knowledgeable.
I know he was trying to get a hold of Fred, and Fred was not getting back to him. So,
Dave's done a lot of thinking, a lot of work on this.
he knows a lot more than I do about trees. I mean, he's worked in a nursery, I've done geology in my life, I've never, until I got to, doing this stuff, I never planted a tree in my life. So I don't claim to be knowledgeable about it, but just experience.
but yeah, so he's going to be back relatively soon. He is looking for the elm trees.
Locations.
Yeah,
I
he's,
have taken the initiative, and we don't have to do this, before you get over the railroad track on your way to the diner down there, what's it called, the railroad track?
Depot?
Yes.
Is it still next? I don't think so. But that end there, yeah.
Yeah.
The old Japanese county restaurant, what the hell is it, everybody knows.
Depot?
The depot.
Oh, that way, okay.
Okay, before you cross the tracks, there's an old lumber yard there, it's now a door, and I talked to the owner, he gave me written permission to put a tree or two in his median there. So that is a place we could put, it's the same owner that owns the trees where we put the two elms next to the YMCA. So we put the two elms 5-6 years ago there, and I've been in touch with him, and he said, yeah, I'd like one or two in front of my business on, I forget the name of the street, just before you go to the railroad tracks there. It was an old lumber yard many years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know Dave's been working on it, has been trying to get in contact with Fred, but Fred has not been responding to him.
Well, we should, Dave, Fred, myself, I mean, we should all sit together at the same time, and talk like we're talking now, but, if anybody wants to take the time to go out, I'm available, if you can deal with me, and, we can look at some of the streets, to get an idea of what's going on,
All right.
Good work, Dave.
Our last thing that trees, last three things, which I had nothing to do with, absolutely zero to do with. Apparently, there are children of refugees, I don't think they're current refugees, but children of refugees this summer up at SUNY.
Marcus,
Marcus is heavily involved with it. Yesterday, I wasn't involved with planting, but they planted 5 or 6 trees in the mill race. Today, Fred and I went out and staked them and put wire, stakes on them, wire them up. But apparently, the city wants to take out some ash trees that are along the mill race. So I guess the rationale was they put these newer trees in, and sometime in the near future, they're going to have to chop out professionally, not the city won't do that, but they have to hire someone to take down the ash trees there.
yeah, Marcus has told us, there are children of migrant workers from around New York State.
The Fred had a good time with it, because they were so, about 20 of these, there must be high school or college age children of refugees, and I don't think they're current refugees,
No,
but...
they're not, they're migrant workers.
Okay,
Mark has been telling us about this for a couple of months.
okay.
So, yeah, this is, yeah. And so they finish up tomorrow, it looks like. But yeah, so I know that there's been a bunch of contact with Mark and Fred and other people that have been working on this since February, and I'm glad that it came to pass, because it sounded
Yeah.
really, really cool, so. All right,
All right.
so let's move on, thank you.
Well, thank you for your time. Sorry to take up so much of your time.
Not a problem. We're missing a lot of people, we don't have a whole lot else to do. most of the people are, Dave's missing on urban forest. There's not much to report on community engagement. Whatever I was going to talk about community engagement was what I just said about using it as a way to get things out for trees. Gina's not here for energy or transportation. I'm guessing,
Standby, just until,
yep, that's what I figured. There's nothing new on that. Mike did.
Oh, you wanted to talk about the Susquehanna?
Yes, so the only business item Dave, Mike has is discuss the only item Susquehanna Greenway Committee can help us set up a trail work day. So, we can do trash cleanup or trail maintenance, and they can suggest a spot that kind of fits in with some of the idea of cleaning up the trash.
Well, has anything
We
happened?
haven't done anything on it, waiting on other things, and just, I'm just bad at that.
so talking about a day when we go volunteer to pick up trash?
Or to maintain the Susquehanna Greenway, if anybody's interested in doing that.
Well, are we going to do both? or one?
I would like any other, I would say.
And we're gonna go as a group and do this?
You don't have to, but
So that'd be fun.
that was the idea. I think though, since there's only 4 of us here, and we're missing 3
Yeah.
committee.
Let's not put their calendar.
Yeah, exactly. I feel a little reticent about doing that. But
Well,
I'm willing to take what people's suggestions are and put it out in an email and see what anybody else says.
I'm willing to do it, but I think we've started with the trash cleanup.
Yeah, so we can
try
just-
to do that, and if we want to do this too, but,
Well, I mean, we can make that be part of the trash cleanup, would be going along the trail and doing that. I mean, I'd almost rather do that than trail maintenance, to be honest. Trail maintenance seems a lot more.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the work.
Exactly, we need a little sticker thing, I could pick up cigarette, that's like the technique. Or I could just shove them into the ground, that was another job.
Well, we can combine them,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Okay, okay, so we already I feel kind of okay just moving that along about the cleanup, since we're all here and we talked about cleaning up anyways, and we're all in agreement. So I'll let Mike know, hey Mike, if you're watching, we'll do the cleanup. He said he was gonna try. But I think that is the only thing that he has there. Again, since we have so few people, but it's still, I want to kind of move on this, or at least get some sort of discussion going on here. So have you guys had a chance to look at that document? Thank you for printing this, I think this is, we have comments in it. That's all right.
Yeah, they were the yellow on my computer screen, but the yellow is coming, that's all.
Oh, yeah, but I don't think it has the actual comments on here, which is perfectly all right. I don't think there was, I'll bring that up actually, so that we can.
I think you did a great job.
Yeah, so he did, he's been working really hard. Do you have a copy of this, Dave?
No, I don't.
So this is a very rough draft of the tree ordinance that we're trying to put together.
Is your copy?
No, you can take it, I got an electronic copy. All right, thank you. There might be one over there too, I'm not sure. So some of the notes that Dave has in here is under section 4, under tree board. He highlighted up through upon request made by the landowners for everything above that in section 4. He says he feels that this is something that we definitely will need to talk about. So I forget, he took a lot of this from another and so this idea of a tree board, which I like a lot, this idea, because I think that putting it all on this committee again is, I think, what my sense of things is trying to get something that's a little bit more robust, so it's not just dependent on the whims of who happens to be on this board at various times. So I think one member of the environmental board and a member of the city council, that flies, right? And then we can invite.
So it looks like this tree board has the responsibility of finding those sites.
Yes,
So making that list.
so, that's another thing that I like about doing this is by creating a board that has a member from here, somebody from the city. Maybe it's not a city council member, though it seems to make sense that it would, but I don't know whether I would think it works. And then, certainly, that would be.
It's a group of people where that's their only focus. Is that
Yeah, like somebody from the environment, it makes sense to have somebody from the environmental board be a part of that, just like we're part of other things and reporting back. That was the community gardens. So, what's her name? She was on this,
Jane?
no, she was on this board a few years ago. She was the former dean at Hardwick.
Oh, I think, well, unfortunately, I was for sale, I think that would be the area by Lindner, Steve Lindner, and that's his husband,
Yeah.
and she taught at Harvard for years.
And she was on the board and she was on that.
Yeah, she did a lot.
She did a ton of work, but she made one of the things that she would report back to us on. We would give suggestions, or have been sometime they're rethinking how to redo some of the gardens over there. And so, John is a very fruitful thing. Kind of like me, I remember this, the Susquehanna Greenway, I think.
Yeah.
That is something that works really, really well. So, I think
She did a lot of
she did, the next thing that he has, that he's got a comment on here is in section 6. The tree board shall have the authority to supervise and inspect all work done on publicly owned property or the rights of way of public streets, including the review of any construction permit filed with the city of Oneonta. He added that permit filed with the city of Oneonta from more generic thing that he had said. I think I kind of like that idea. I think that I'm going to keep that language in there, but if the city and others don't want that, then
I think that makes sense because if there's going to be new construction, then that's going to probably involve trees.
yeah, so exactly. And I think later on, there's an idea of, or there should be an idea here of, for every tree that's removed, there should be a replacement of some kind. I think that is, whoops, shoot, I didn't mean to do that.
I'd be curious about what types of standards of homeowner kinds of things require a permit and which ones don't. So, for example, at what point of working on your house does it become something that requires a permit?
That developed in the code.
I looked at the code a couple times. I built a deck recently, and I got a permit.
Oh, good.
But I was actually replacing an existing deck, or going right where there's an existing one. But just to make sure I cover my bases, I got a permit and then I treat stuff. So, I think if you're putting up even one of those above ground swimming pools, like a pool might require a permit.
Right.
It's tricky, because a lot of the stuff that maybe should be permitted is probably done by homeowners without a permit.
Well, I mean, we can't do a whole lot about that.
Yeah,
I mean, there's always going to be a lot of construction, a lot of things that are being done that should be permitted that aren't, I mean, if you, which way the day goes back, but anytime that somebody files a building permit with the city of Oneonta, this committee would need to be notified.
Yeah.
Anytime that anybody's gonna fix their stairs.
Yeah, so,
if you're fixing your back porch because it's rotten, you might need to file a permit. And it's like, really? And then this committee needs to be informed, and somebody would have to make a decision whether we're going to check it out or not.
right.
It's difficult.
I'm putting a note in there in December, learning a little bit about the logistics.
Yeah, and the responsibility of it.
Yeah, so, for instance, replacement.
So if somebody's taking down big trees, they have to get, on private property, they have to get permission?
No.
No, on private, I think they can do it. If they want to put a tree down, the city has no say. If it's on private property,
Right, I think you say do that, because a couple of years ago, I had dozens of trees that were overhanging my house. couple of years ago.
No, there's no, because I've gone through, I had to do that, and no, well, there's no.
Yeah, right, interesting, is it that you can, I cut down these big maple trees that were hanging over my house.
With your own trees and your property?
Yeah, no.
Your trees and your, oh, you could do what you want with them.
Right, yeah, right.
Okay, let's see, is there,
One thing I checked, in fact, a threat is, it's certified, New York certified arborist, and he, so I had $1,000 or so taking exams and doing all the necessary certifications.
we just want to make sure, and I think,
No, I'm not necessarily saying he's the one, I'm just throwing it out there now.
Oh, yeah, no,
And that is the standard, yeah, it's a bit of a, yeah. But he also was authority at the beginning of it, so we had a running start.
right, but it's just something,
But he wasn't a certified arborist, but he became that with about $1,000 or more out of his pocket.
right. So in section 12, the nuisance and condemnation, any street tree or tree plant on property, so you've got, Dave says, I think that there's already some existing language in the city code that he's going to just pull in there to just make sure that, not to change things that don't need to be changed. You know? I think, for example, one of the things that we talked about, he was really keen on was, there's like 3 separate places, I think, in the current code where trees are addressed, and just trying to,
Yeah.
wanted just to pull some of that over there, so I think we'll wait on that and see how that looks. And I think that's the same thing under section 13. He says still need to add existing language from city code regarding tree protections, but you'll see there, Hutch, that we've got the presence of landmark trees. And so that way there, I think that's probably a better way of dealing with something. If there's a big tree that we really want to keep in order, we want to try to work with the owner of the property to do what we can.
The Fred has the right to tell someone if the tree has been damaged and needs to be taken down. If they don't do it, the city will hire someone to do it.
Yes.
And charge them on their next tax bill.
Right.
And the city has the authority for danger reasons.
Yes, and that's also on, under that section, the sentence,
Yeah.
upon the discovery of any destructive or communicable disease, Dave has, Ainsworth has a thing here saying, city code already has language for this. And
On the land, let me just throw this out, if anyone is interested, I am sitting at a big old hollow, and I talked to Ben Cooperstown, who's claimed he had the oldest oak tree in Cooperstown. He said it too was hollow. He went to Sherwood Forest, where Robin Hood hung out, and they would say the tree there, like propping things up, which isn't that bad. If the winds get to be so big, the weight, but, you know, they have saved, allegedly, the tree line where Robin Hood hung out. It's, you know, where Robin was cheap as taking the tree down, to be honest.
I have, it is in my blood. My grandfather poured concrete for years and years and years, became a general contractor, and he redid a whole, there was this, I forget, I think it was this beautiful, it was actually, I think it was this beautiful, large, old tree. And he always, whenever he built a new subdivision, he never tried to clear cut, he always tried to, but this one tree couldn't be, there was just no way that he would work around it. So he actually paid to have it dug up, the whole, I mean, it was a big lot, and moved, and made the centerpiece of the cul-de-sac. So I'm all in on that sort of thing. The other thing that he has is, the last thing here, is the removal and replacement of trees. So trees removed from public property or rights of way should replace at least one for all tree species, as recommended by the tree board within a reasonable time period. He said he was kind of this with language for because it gives a little bit more specificity. I think.
We can wait till Dave gets back.
Yeah, but I just want, I think, you know, I want to at least forward on and say that, you know, any new ideas that we might have, or, you know, that,
Yeah, actually, if I can. Section 12, and the fifth or so line down, it says, the tree board
yeah,
shall inform the city council of any private tree
yes,
not maintained in compliance with the provisions of this local law,
yes,
or which is dead or dangerous, yada, yada, yada. So now talking about private trees on private property that are dangerous, like my yard. And my question is, yeah, I've got some dead trees in the very back of my backyard, and that could fall on somebody, but who pays for their removal, me or the city? I'm just curious, I mean, that's not
Private property, you.
Right, so can you, with this, can the tree board demand that I get these trees removed?
I think that what is happening now is the city hired a contractor to remove the tree, and you are billed on your tax. You have to put it on your tax bill. So the city,
And that's gonna be that question, I've got a dangerous tree in my property.
I think that might already be in the code.
now, it's not over, it's not a sidewalk.
Wasn't who pays?
You know, it's not hanging over, if it's not hanging over public property, it may be a different ballgame. If it's in your backyard and the public isn't involved in any way, shape, or form, I don't think the city's gonna come in and say a thing.
You're gonna say anything, right, but this text does say, the tree, it just says here in text, the tree board shall inform the city council of any private tree not maintained, or which is dead or dangerous. That's me. Okay? And so, if that's what it says in black and white, I'm just curious if anybody's really gonna follow through on this.
Of course, if that tree falls on somebody else's property, you are going to be paying for that.
But you know, the city attorney, David Mercy, would give someone that's, yeah, make a call on that.
So I had a tree, I live on a hill, and you know where I live, and there were some big dead trees on my yard, and they were gonna fall on my neighbor's house. And so I called my insurance company, and I said, I got some big dead trees, and one of these days they're gonna fall on my neighbor's house. And I said, I would cut the trees down before that happens, will you pay for this? And they said, no, when the tree falls on your neighbor's house, it's the neighbor's problem. When my tree falls on my neighbor's house, it's the neighbor's insurance problem, to go out of it.
Yep. Well, that, because I had half a tree split falling in my neighbor's yard, knocked over their part of the fence, pile drove their little metal fire pit to the ground. Luckily, they didn't hit their tree or anything like that. Their parent, her dad's like a linesman, so he was able to get like all the equipment.
Yeah.
But like, and I paid for like half the fence or something like that, but.
Well, then it seems like the whole thing is a moot point because
Insurance.
if the insurance isn't gonna,
So-
why should we bother telling people that they've got a private tree that's a problem?
Okay, so, you come to my yard and I say, Paul, you got that tree, that tree, it's gonna cost you $7,000, you got them all cut down. You're gonna be like, really?
So now, here's the thing, so what's already in the code, okay? Any tree or trees in the city that have become a public hazard insofar as that tree or any portion of the tree is in danger of falling on public property or upon a city sidewalk or roadway. So it would have to affect the city, as that's written.
Yeah.
And then all the stuff that.
And the city attorney's gonna have to look at this document.
Right, but we also want to try to not irritate people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very complicated stuff when, if my tree from my yard falls on your house.
Right.
Well,
Yeah, I didn't know what you were saying, that's interesting.
so one of the issues that I can see that where I think that one is, I would say, is probably a little bit more difficult to justify. On the other hand, one could argue that the city would be maybe in the rights if it was the tree.
Now, the kill the baby in the carriage, isn't
The
it?
tree was like, that's what an animal or something like that, right? In which case, it would affect, and that becomes to me a little bit. But, I put a little note in there, so yeah, that's a good point, we can look and see. Maybe this was one of those things where you cut and paste, and something just didn't, you miss a little something, or whatever, or we go back and we can look at the code that this was taken from, and see a little bit more detail about that. But I've re-highlighted that in the online draft and left a little note on that. Anything else?
One of the, yeah, so in our last meeting, Gina said that we should consider a tree inventory.
Yes.
And I don't see anything in here about a tree inventory, but I would assume that that would fall under the tree board.
Yeah.
Can I not see it? I mean,
I thought we were, feel like I saw it, but maybe I just kind of like alighted that into that whole thing. tree board, in order to promote the goals of this community, Tree Law shall develop a master plan for the city of Oneonta, including planting, tree planting, and maintenance programs for all trees.
It does specifically say maintain an inventory, though.
Yeah.
Maybe that's.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, let's add, not approved trees, but ecologically appropriate trees.
I mean, that makes a good point, like if we had like a major storm come through and blow down a bunch of trees, then we would know what we lost.
Right, and I think also, right, so we have the inventory, no, we don't have inventory, at that as well. To the best that we can, I mean, obviously, it's not gonna be like that.
The city has done 2 inventories, so when Dick Miller became mayor, there's a monetary value placed on these urban forests. He wanted to know how much that would be. And the city hired an outfit from, a way western part of the state, I can't remember the name of it. He did a pretty good survey, he and his partner, we're not here only a few days, but they, I mean, every damn tree, I followed out and checked it, they did this way, every damn tree you can think of. It's on the computer somewhere, I don't know where the program is, I've never seen it. That, and then also Cornell came as part of a project for it.
That was also a long time ago, so the tree situation, Dick Miller was a while ago, so that tree situation's a bit different now, I imagine.
Well, no, but he wasn't a wild guy, he was a man, maybe I wasn't a wild. In terms of the, see, I can't, if you got, it's in the city somewhere, main engineering department has that, and it was in the computer, I never could deal with a computer. But the bottom line, you drive around the neighborhood and say, there's a spot for a tree, or there's a dead tree. All this computerized stuff, it sounds wonderful for a value of the forest, which we probably have somewhere, that's a good idea, I guess. But in terms of working, let's face it, you got to look and see and do what you need to do. It's, you know.
Well, I think.
I don't know,
I still trying to get away from.
no, and I'm trying to encourage you to think of tree size, that's, you know, important.
Anything else?
It's a muddy forest that we walk through, it takes so much time and energy to do everything with what's listed in the document. It's just, I don't mean to knock it,
lot of people good.
Yeah.
Well, I figured that was gonna be the big thing. Andrew put a lot of effort into putting this thing together. I know we want to have a further discussion with everybody here, but I also felt like we have enough people here, we can at least get some notes on and get it. Did you have something that you wanted to add to it, or anything like that? No?
But get the conversation started.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, is to kind of like, sitting there and waiting, and you never, like, let's just get this thing started to work on. And then he'll be back and start working on that.
Good.
All right. I think that's it. So I think at 8 o'clock, we will call this meeting closed. Thank you all. Go back to the zero. No, it's Gina's. I forgot she wasn't going to be here today. Oh, I don't need this. Or this is spare. Karen,